Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Weeb from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together, we are Kenny and Renny. This is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after a beatdown by the Winnipeg Jets on the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks smoked them tonight. They went duck hunting tonight, folks. Absolutely smoked the Anaheim Ducks out there. Left no doubt who is the best team on the ice in that one. The kind of game fans absolutely love. They were going crazy at Canada Life Center. I think, outside of the cheering for Toffoli's goals, maybe the biggest cheer came for Mason Appleton's goal with under 10 seconds left. I believe his third goal this year, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, third goal this year that came with under 10 seconds left to go in the game. Second straight game in a row that he scores with under 10 seconds left. Massive pop by the crowd with the sixth. The beating that happened tonight, the crowd ate it up. They loved it. Taunting of Gibson for a good chunk of that game. This was a carnival game, let's call it that, for the Winnipeg Jets, as the fans soaked up the beatdown that was the Winnipeg Jets playing the Anaheim Ducks on this. There's been a lot of talk this year about, pessimistic Renny, optimistic Renny. I think the Renny you're probably going to see on this show here today is neutral Renny. I was talking with, I'll get a lot of texts from people who watch the show and fans of the Jets and stuff like that. And, one of them had got a hold of me and was kind of talking about it. It's clear like people are really, really excited. And I think some people were thinking like, you must be really like, excited about or blown away by their performance and all those kind of things. To me, this is the kind of game it was difficult to show. Like I think my job as an analyst is to take a look at this and be like, okay, are they trending in this direction? Are they having this kind of behavior? Are they correcting this kind of problem? That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking towards in this. If you saw me, I did a panel on Hockey Central before the show where they had me on, where we kind of really, really dug deep into the Winnipeg Jets. And on that show, I'd said fully expect the Jets to do tonight what they did end up doing, because this is the pattern of what we've seen from the Winnipeg Jets. Give the Winnipeg Jets credit. All year long, I believe I saw a stat that says that the Winnipeg Jets are better against the teams below the playoff line than any other team in the league. And that is something worth celebrating. This is not something to demean what they've done so far. It's something worth celebrating, because what that means is the Winnipeg Jets are a team that stays focused and brings the type of effort that is required and the type of game that is required to stay above those other teams that, people call them trap games and things like that. The Winnipeg Jets haven't been susceptible to that. And the one thing I'll say, we've seen it a lot on this show, a lot in the comments that we've had from people over the years. How often did you used to hear the Winnipeg Jets play down to their opponent? It used to be a big problem with this team. And a lot of times they'd pull it out of the fire and that would be great. But a lot of times they wouldn't. And a lot of times they'd end up kind of getting caught with their pants down against a team that they really should have been handling properly. The Winnipeg Jets this year, give them credit, handle their business against those lower echelon teams. But I'll say this, I know that there's people in the chat room that get miffed when I refer to them as lower echelon teams. If you haven't watched the game, all those of you out there who get downright offended by me saying that, I would suggest you don't, because it doesn't help your argument to watch the Anaheim Ducks in this game. Rough hockey team. Especially on this night, not really able to make a pass when there was open ice, not able to push much. I thought perfectly, and I'll ask Ken about this because I thought it was handled really well. I thought that Rick Bonus's response in his post game was the perfect response to this game. Because while he did say, and he's right to say, the Winnipeg Jets came out and they did the right things in the first period to get that game to break open the way that they did. They played offensively in the offensive zone. I thought they played really, really strong, dominant, skating circles around that chain, literally skating circles around the zone and playing keep away against the Anaheim Ducks, waiting for them to make mistakes. I thought the Ducks, as low energy as they seem, did a fairly good job of not making those mistakes. But you want to know what those mistakes look like. They look like the goal that Dylan DeMello scores, where Nikolai Ehlers finds him after they have one of those, skating circles around them shifts, and then finds Dylan DeMello more wide open than maybe any player has been in this entire season, as they finally create that breakdown they're looking for from the Anaheim Ducks. I also thought Rick pointed out the idea that there were some uncharacteristic mistakes by the Winnipeg Jets. This is a shutout by Laurent Brossoit on this night. Reminder, as I've said once, I'll say it 100 times, there's no difference between the Winnipeg Jets, whether you've got Laurent Brossoit in net or whether you have Connor Hellebuyck in net. But I'll say this on this night, this was an earned shutout by Laurent Brossoit. There was a number of pretty high danger chances. Shots 21 and 22 were bangers, definitely candidates for Keg save of the game. But to me, I take a look at that and I think the Jets defense was not where it was. If you're trying to get them to get back to where they were at the beginning of the year, it wasn't there. But the most telling thing for me was Rick Bowness twice offered this without being asked about it. He twice pointed to the Anaheim Ducks and referred to them as a tired hockey club. That most definitely was the case tonight. They looked that way. They looked like a team that played last night and was shut out. Not taking anything away from the Winnipeg Jets and their ability to make sure that they're getting it done against the kind of teams that first place in their division teams should be getting it done against. The Jets, as I said earlier, get it done against them. I guess the long part for me here is the concerns that people have had about the Winnipeg Jets, the off again, on again, off again, on again performances that we've been seeing. This is a continuation of this. But this is a struggling, tired team that the Jets pounded tonight, a game after they got pounded by a team that was up. The game before that, the Jets again pounding, like 3-0. Jets have shut out their opponents 3 times in the last 5 games, sandwiched in between other games where they looked very much like the team that they had preyed on the game before. So it's hard for me to look at this game and say all the problems are fixed. Everything's okay. They scored 6 goals against the Ducks. This means they're back. I can't say that because the biggest problem, as we've talked about on this show, is the fact that the Jets have shown this is now the Jets 18-3-1 against teams below the playoff line since Christmas time. They still remain 4-7-1 since Christmas time against the teams above the playoff line. So for me, this is a little bit of a push it down the road. They're going to play Columbus. I fully expect them to do something similar to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Then we'll see after that, as the opponents stiffen up, where the Jets are as far as getting their game to a place it needs to be against the kind of teams that they'll be facing at the most important time of the year. That's my take on the whole thing. Time to bring in the man with the best music in the business to get his take on the whole thing. Here comes Kenny. Ken, NBHA ball hockey, who in the past, I believe, has been really upset by me saying that the Dallas Stars are a good team, says Renny is cautiously optimistic. No, I am telling you, I'm taking a pass on this. I am neutral on this game. This does not make me think things are better or things are worse than they were before this game. I am neutral on this game. Let's make that absolutely clear, but you don't have to be that. You know what is definitely not neutral is that bold suit you are wearing there, Ken? Looks like $1,000,000. Of course it does. It's a Vittorio Rossi suit, as is this one. This is an all-timer. I've talked about this one before. It's hard to go out without getting compliments on this suit, as it is with almost any time you wear a Vittorio Rossi suit. So you know what to do. If you want to make it so it's near impossible to get dressed up, walk out into the street without your mailman, your next door neighbor, someone driving by on the street and stopping and pulling over to tell you look great in your suit, you got to head on down to Vittorio Rossi on Corridon Avenue. Walk in, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys. They will do you up right. Ken, what'd you see in that game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we saw a team that is playing out the string, and we saw a team that posted its third shutout in 5 games. So what we saw in the middle, second period, probably not the best for either team, but strong start for the Jets. Third was pretty good. I mean, a couple lapses, sure. I mean, this is a kind of game that is difficult to play, but I would say that the Jets needed to respond, and they did. So, I mean, I would. Renny is optimistically neutral.
Cautious or neutral. Yes. Optimistically neutral. There we go. Yes.
Again, is everything solved? No, but I mean, my tilt in this one would be that the Jets were much better. Yes, Laurent Brossoit still had to make a few saves for sure, no doubt about it, even though the volume was low. There were a couple of high-enders there, but the one on Vetrano that you mentioned, there was the splits maneuver in the second period, no doubt about that. But for a team that had been, handling the puck very let's use the word carelessly. I think that would be fair. Not recklessly, but carelessly a little bit during the last little stretch. I would say they were much better in terms of their puck management, and that's something that Rick emphasized with you, Sean, in the post-game show, in the post-game availability. Yeah, I mean, would the Jets prefer that a 6-0 game comes against Vancouver or a team like that? Certainly, but I mean, you can only play the teams that are on your schedule. Yes, they had a definite schedule advantage over the Ducks, who were also blanked the night before. But at the same time, the Jets imposed their will in the game, which is what you expect them to do tonight in a game against an opponent like that. So I would say there were a lot of things that they would build as building blocks, not as yes, right on, everything is hunky dory, let's move forward. And I love the fact that one of the things Tyler Toffoli said, Sean, was that the Jets had a big road trip, tough road trip coming up. So good. I mean, that's a good recognition for someone who formerly played on one of those teams that is still battling for a playoff spot. So the Jets will face another struggling team on Sunday in the Columbus Blue Jackets. We know that Pascal Vincent is going to treat that game a little bit differently than maybe some others, given his connection to the organization previously. He's going to want his team to show a little bit better, certainly show better than Anaheim did here. It gets tougher as they move along. That game against the Rangers, that's one that I have circled, Sean. I mean, that's a marquee kind of matchup. It will require a massive effort. The Rangers are playing very solid hockey. Igor Shesterkin has found his mojo once again. It's a team that has realistic, Stanley Cup aspirations. So that'll be a fun one. New Jersey, that'll be a fun game. I mean, they're on the periphery, but they just smoked the Dallas Stars. So if you're not ready to play them, then look out. Then the Jets move on to play the New York Islanders. And then they will close out against the Washington Capitals team that is, again, on the periphery of the race in the Eastern Conference, not quite out of it yet, but certainly need to run off a bunch of wins if they want to get back into it. What I liked from the Jets, Laurent Brossoit, Sean, he's kind of, I loved his comments as well. I mean, he kind of dismissed the shutouts, quite frankly, don't you think? He basically said, look at who I was playing against. I mean, it wasn't a knock on the opponent, but, those are two teams that haven't been scoring a lot of goals. So he knows his workload was lighter, but he kind of, I felt like he wasn't giving himself enough credit for the saves that he made, but he also recognized these weren't 42 or 48 save shutouts either. So I love the recognition from Brossoit, but this is very simple, Sean. Laurent Brossoit wants to be in the games against the New York Rangers on Tuesday, but he knows right now that is unlikely to be the case. So guess what? Your best option is to play great whenever you have the opportunity for your number to be called. So good on him for that. This is a guy who's going to be a starting goalie in the NHL next season. And if he's not, the general managers need the pristine roofing wake-up call, quite frankly, Sean. And I understand lots of teams have lots of goaltenders in their system. Laurent Brossoit is going to be a starter in the National Hockey League. And I'm here to tell you, if your team needs a starting goalie, look at Laurent Brossoit in unrestricted free agency. This is not a difficult concept. Do you have to have some concerns based on the injury history? Absolutely, yes. But if you are operating a 1A and 1B scenario, he can be the A part of that equation. No one's saying give him 65 starts and run him into the ground, but this guy can handle the workload. He's shown that he's deserving of it. Only health has gotten in the way the last little while. No issues with health right now. If you're worried about his groin, look at the way he dove across in the second period. This guy's ready for a heavier workload. And Sean, I mean, Mike McIntyre, my colleague, and I were talking. You might be tempted to give him 2 of the 5 games, wouldn't you? If you're Rick Bowness and the Jets coaching staff, I know there's a back-to-back. You know he's getting one. Wouldn't you be tempted to play him potentially on Thursday against the Devils?
Hey, I would be. I think I've been pretty clear on. I think he's been underutilized. But this is the same conversation we had going on about Comrie when he was here.
They would be tempted.
They would be tempted.
Different conversation.
It's almost pointless to have these conversations, because honestly, every time, like I do think that Laurent Brossoit has conducted himself in a manner where he would be getting more opportunities than he does. But what we see time and time again, and we saw it with Paul Maurice, it has not changed with Rick Bowness and his coaching staff, is the first question they ask themselves is essentially if Hellebuck would want this game. And if he wants it, he gets it. Basically, like I think Hellebuck gets everything that he wants outside of the stuff they feel that they have to give Laurent Brossoit to build in the break that they want for Hellebuck and to keep Laurent Brossoit engaged. But at this stage, to me, it is abundantly clear there's nothing that Laurent Brossoit could do that would earn him more opportunities, or maybe better to say it, to take away any kind of opportunity for Connor Hellebuck.
I don't know, just in the situation, the guy posts back-to-back shutouts. I'm not saying play him on Sunday. I'm just saying that I would be tempted to play him on Thursday and give him Sunday as well. And again, we understand that Connor Hellebuck wants to be around 60 games, but I see the benefits, bigger picture, of Hellebuck finishing at 58 starts. And I understand it's only a 2-start difference, but I think it's important in the big picture. So anyways, 16 games left. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how things go. Can Laurent Brossoit get to 25? I'm not sure about that. Today was his 18th. Could you get him 7 out of the 18? I'm not sure, but you should get him at least 6. And if you can get him a 7th, by all means, find a way to do it.
I'm all for it. I'm just saying, like that.
Fair. I know what you're saying.
There was a real to me, like that for me was the last moment that this conversation died. Like that last time after Connor Hellebuck had the game that he had, Laurent Brossoit had the shutout. Connor Hellebuck had the game that he had. Came back, bounced back properly. It was the right thing to do. But before you go into that game, before hindsight is 2020, that's where you start a goaltender who hasn't failed you for quite a long time now and has probably earned more opportunities. That's the place that you build that in. So unless they're going into a scenario by which they're going to say to Connor Hellebuck, okay, we think you need to start resting up for the playoffs, that's the only thing that would take them there. There's clearly, in my mind, there's nothing at this stage Laurent Brossoit can do to put himself in a situation where they would say he's pushed to a degree that he's opened up that door for himself there. That door has been a vault all year. It's been a vault as long as Connor Hellebuck has been who he's been since 2018. Let's be honest, he's earned that vault door that he's created there, but nothing. I expect no changes in the pacing or anything that they do with Laurent Brossoit. Just
on that, and I'm with you, and I know that I argued on your same side for playing him on that Monday, but again, the more I thought about it, when you challenge your team and say they played their worst game. No, Sean, I'm just saying the coach. No, I'm not changing how I felt. What I'm changing is the fact that I recognize that if you challenge your team and say you played your worst game in 2 years, that the starting goalie, the bona fide number one, would get the chance to respond himself. And that's what they did. And he did with the shutout. So
Yeah.
again, that's a different scenario. Again, now I don't expect the Jets
But
to be
they
falling
also
on
in
their
that
face in the
they
next
also
game either.
took and put Cole Perfetti into the lineup at that point as a way of saying, we need to change things up here. We need to give other people opportunities. There would be no one who had earned their opportunity back into that lineup more than so I would counter argue that if you are going to be doing that and challenging the team by saying we need to step up, and that means, you know, we need to change things up here and put someone in who's earned it. He had done that by. I've made the point. It's clear. Randall D says, what a luxury to have compared to a West playoff team. Never mind. I'm almost starting to think that that the trading for Pierre-Luc Dubois that the LA Kings did in the offseason would be the second greatest gaffe of their offseason in losing the guys that they lost. And the first would be like, could you imagine if they would have gone out and got Laurent Brossoit as their backup goaltender? I mean, with the situation that they had and going with the goaltending tandem that they have and having David Riddick playing a role at this point, like this was the perfect scenario to what you're talking about, the 1A, 1B. If you would have taken and plugged Laurent Brossoit into that situation, he could potentially be the runaway starter in LA right now, fix a huge problem that they had, and maybe be emerging as one of the better goaltenders in the West, if not the NHL, if he continued to play the way he's playing. Because we'll say this about the LA Kings, they haven't been as good defensively as the Jets have been this year, but they're a typically good defensive team. So Laurent Brossoit has looked really good behind a defensive team so far this year in Winnipeg. Probably would have been a good situation for him to be in LA. That is a massive swing and a miss, and maybe a team early to keep your eye out for reaching out and trying to snag Laurent Brossoit going into next season.
Yeah, just a couple quick ones on that. I mean, Cam Talbot was an all-star with his first half. He's certainly dipped since that time, and I think they sort of reinforced their faith in Phoenix. Phoenix Copley came in and kind of saved their season last year, so you kind of understand why they extended him last year, and he's been hurt this year. But yeah, I mean, for sure, that's a team that could use a Laurent Brossoit. There's no doubt. Again, I'm not doing this to toss a grenade. I just feel that there were enough people taking runs at Pierre-Luc Dubois, and often rightfully so. He scored his 15th of the year tonight. So, I mean, not having a bad season after all the early dirt that has been kind of piled in his direction. Again, not telling people how to feel, just pointing it out there.
I think Cam Talbot being selected first overall out of all the goalies at the All-Star game probably tells you a little bit about how the All-Stars felt about him in that group of All-Star goaltenders.
Oh, hey, and like I said, I didn't say he was the best solution for them. I'm just saying that he did his part at the start of the year when the Kings were having success. Now, I mean, you're rolling the dice. If you're the LA Kings and you haven't addressed your goaltending, they just didn't have a ton of money available for goaltending, but it wouldn't have taken a ton of money for Laurent Brossoit based on what he had signed here in Winnipeg. Sean, I know you mentioned LA. I'm going to mention the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sean, I've said this to a couple of people that we both know. I think that I understand that the Leafs feel very strongly about Joseph Woll over the long term, but if you're going into a 1A, 1B and you're Brad Treliving, I think that Laurent Brossoit is absolutely perfect for Toronto, and he has the perfect demeanor, because I know that everyone thinks, oh, it's the big bad media. There's so much under the microscope. Laurent Brossoit doesn't care about that. That would not bother him one bit, and I think he has a perfect demeanor to actually handle the starting job with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's where I'm starting off, but there's going to be enough teams that are very interested in his services. But I'm leaning towards the East. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think it'd be a good fit for him. And again, travel in the East is a little bit lighter than in the West. I mean, that's probably better for the body if you're going to be looking at probably the highest workload you've ever had in your career. But anyways, there'll be lots of time to sort that out, and we will dig in deeper on that as well.
I double down. I think LA is actually the perfect situation for him. Anyways, unless you can think of a better one, I'm just going to keep the Jets have been making my pristine roofing wake up call easy on me, because it just keeps flip flopping back and forth between tonight. They need the pristine roofing wake-up call, and they got the pristine roofing wake-up call. Sure looks like they got the pristine roofing wake-up call tonight, and you know what that means. Time to give North End Rick the pristine roofing wake-up call at 1-204-981-6289. You can also call Pristine Roofing at 1-204-237-7663. The people to call for all your roofing, siding, exterior needs are at work already. Someone in my neighborhood, I saw the Pristine Roofing trucks in there. It was a complicated one. I can tell you that. They had solar panels all over their roof. So removed the solar panels, got everything done, put them back on, and they're doing it already at this time of year. So don't wait. If you need your roof done, now's the time to get loaded up. My guess is, you're probably getting on a list in sometime deep in the summer. So if you need any of that work done, now's the time to make that call. It's also the time to let Pristine Roofing know if there's anyone out there you think could use a free roof, because they are giving out a free roof. So if there's anyone in your life, any neighbors, anyone on your street who could use a free roof, you know what to do. Generous offer by them, and proud to be associated with people who are so generous. Ken, give Sweet Lou a shout out before we move on.
You bet. For folks who have realty needs you'd like to have met, buying, selling, curious what the house on the corner is going for, contact our main man, Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU at LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast.
Okay, Michael Downs says here quickly before we move on from this, Renny, when people sing Helly's praises, you mention that you don't think it matters who's in net. I think the same should apply to Brazzy's play. The team plays very well in front of him too. Michael Downs, I think, thinks that he's putting me in my place with this. He's saying exactly what I've been trying to say all year. I could not agree more with this. Earlier on in the year, when we were having these conversations, I was trying to wake up the nation to how good the Winnipeg Jets were playing as a team and what a luxury it was for their goaltenders. An extension of that is when you play like that, I think it limits the difference between star goaltenders and goaltenders that may not be as high. But the point of it is, I've said this, there's no difference between the Winnipeg Jets, whether or not Laurent Brossoit is playing in net or whether or not Connor Hellebuyck is playing in net. That is me essentially saying, A, I think Connor Hellebuyck's a great goaltender. B, I think that Laurent Brossoit is like, they've got two great goaltenders. That's what I'm trying to say with that. But what I'm also saying is the Winnipeg Jets deserve credit this year in how well those players are playing. They're not getting hung out to dry. Hey, you want to take a look at a team that it would be hard to be a goaltender behind tonight? Go take a look at what was happening to John Gibson on the other side of the night tonight. That would be a tough situation to be in, and tricky for those guys to be in. So when I'm saying this, to me, I know, and I still don't understand how it's happening, but some people think that by me saying that the Winnipeg Jets are good defensively, that I'm taking a shot at Connor Hellebuyck. Somehow people think that when I point out that Laurent Brossoit is playing well, even though he's getting shutouts, that I'm taking a shot at Connor Hellebuyck. I don't know how this is translated to that. This is me basically building up the holy trifecta of the Jets defense, a great goaltender, and another great goaltender. I don't know how else to say it. But I mean, geez, Michael Downs is making the point I've been trying to make all year, but it seems like Michael Downs is trying to make the point to me, who has been making that point since the beginning of the season. Anyways, we need to move on. What'd you see from Mark Scheifele in his bounce back game here?
Yeah, tremendous, all over the place. I mean, we talked so much about how much the Jets missed him on Wednesday night. That was incredibly obvious. And today, driving play. What do we see from Mark Scheifele? Just out there hustling at all ends. Back check, forecheck, paycheck. Only one assist on the agenda, but I liked everything about his game. I mean, that one assist, we're going to get into it a little bit more. I mean, you asked Tyler Toffoli about it. I'm going to throw that back to you in a minute. But, on a night where the Jets blew out their opponent, Mark played 18-15. So he didn't have to run into the 22-minute mark coming back from illness, which is smart coaching. 3 shots on net, 4 attempts, 77% in the circle. I liked everything about Mark's game. I thought he was very patient with the puck. Again, very smart play. Tyler Toffoli, as he said to you, made himself big and it went in off his skate. I mean, I don't think that was an accident, nor do you. Thought he sort of helped set the tone in the game by moving the puck well, acceleration everywhere. And, I just thought he won a lot of battles on the ice, and you saw in a couple of nice back checks. And I just thought he was like quietly excellent. That would be my assessment. I thought he was very good, and the Jets were certainly happy to have him back. Kyle Connor getting back on the board. I mean, 28 on the season now for Connor. Three shots, 4 attempts. Thought the line had some potential there as well. But yeah, I love Scheifele's game. He was great.
This is a really good point, I think, made here by Dorian Wasakase or Waskas. I don't know. Give 44 his praises, but this team is night and day different with/without 55 in the lineup. Dig into this, Ken, because it's funny. Dorian's mind went exactly where I went, because I've been talking lately about Josh and the effect that I think he's had on this team, and kind of been the driver for the last little while. And on tonight, 3 assists, I believe, is what he had on this night. So it's Josh being Josh all over again. But I'm starting to wonder, even though I think Josh has popped as much or more than any other player in the Jets lineup over this last little while, if you took him out of the lineup and took Mark Scheifele out of the lineup, which would have the greater impact?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I agree. I mean, I personally, and again, this is just personal preference, I think there is a virtually equal drop off if either one of those guys is out of the lineup. I mean,
wait a minute.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to sit on the fence. I'm just.
Well, I was gonna say, can you see the other side of town from on top of that fence there? But anyways, go on.
I'm just saying, like there's a big drop off between a number 1 D and a second D man on the Winnipeg Jets and on a lot of other teams. So my opinion is that I'm not willing to say it's Scheifele in a landslide, or I know that's not what you're saying. I'm just saying that it's equally.
I never said anything. I asked you a question someone in the chat room asked.
I'm just saying it would be equally harmful to the Jets' chances if either one is out of the lineup. And I'm not trying to be on the fence. There's a big drop off on most teams between a number 1 center and also a number 1 defenseman to the next guy on the lineup. And we've given praise to the Jets defense corps. It's unheralded. They've done an excellent job as a unit and as a 5-man unit. But I mean, we saw it last year. The Jets lost both Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey, and then had very little left against the Vegas Golden Knights after handily winning game 1. So I would say it's a saw for me. I'm not, again, like I said, I'm not trying to sit on the fence. I just think that both of them drive play in their own way, and the Jets are a way better team than when they're both in the lineup. Again, I wouldn't rank them personally. It's 1A and 1B for me. Yeah, I don't know if you agree or not, and that's okay.
I'm not. I don't know about sitting on the fence. I'll say this: I think the Winnipeg Jets have a team structure that they can fall back on. That puts them into a scenario where they win a lot of like 2-0 games, 2-1 games, whatever. However they do that, and so I guess I wouldn't say I think the Jets would be better. I'm not going to talk about drop off. I'm not going to talk about which player is better. I think if you were to lose Josh Morrissey, that you would better be able to survive it just by the idea of this team falling back into that defensive shell. And you would just need what Mark Scheifele brings offensively to get enough of that flair to get you over the line and get you that second goal. Because what I see when he's out is almost just an inability for this team to produce anything offensively. Now, that said, they brought in new players. They brought in Tyler Toffoli. We're just starting to see, I think, tonight, that kind of what they're capable of. So maybe, just maybe, once those players come in here, they're going to be more capable and it won't stand out as much. But I guess it's hard to take a look at it because Josh hasn't missed the way that I believe he missed 1 game so far this year. Is it
one?
Ken,
I thought, yeah, 1.
I guess just for me, it's been eye-popping what the Jets look like without Mark Scheifele in the lineup and how things seem to just, someone had said about it clearly the really, really best players elevate everybody around them. I do really think that Josh is a bit of a one-man band in the way that he is jumping routes, he's pouncing on pucks, he's creating so much that other people are capitalizing on. I think Mark Scheifele actually takes his line mates for sure and others around them and just raises them and makes them better players. So it's I'll probably say it's a saw off as well. I do think for me, the difference in the game looks greater when Mark Scheifele is out. And I do think losing that 1C, especially on a team that can be offensively challenged as it has been in the low points throughout this year, would potentially be harder to survive just to get off the fence and say something.
Well,
unlike someone else on this.
I mean, there's 2 points separating the two players, and I would say it's probably easier for a 1C to produce than it is a number 1 defenseman, even though
not the way Josh is doing it. Hey, this is to take nothing away from Josh. Josh is like a wrecking ball offensively right now. I would almost say he's just setting the table for people and they're finishing it up. And geez, like it's hard to say that too, because he gives up nothing defensively. I talked about it on our broadcast. He adds so much offensively, and he does it without taking risks or stupid. This isn't Erik Karlsson last year who just forewent playing defense to get 100 points. This is a guy who's going out and driving the bus better offensively probably than anyone else out there. Yeah, it's a tough one. I still have to land on the idea. Maybe it's a gut feeling. It just feels like the Jets without Mark Scheifele is a real different team.
Oh, they've struggled. There's no way around it. I mean, the flip side of that argument is that, they have 4 lines that they've never had, they haven't really played 4 lines as a hockey team for a long time. But yeah, I mean, Mark, though he's the biggest game breaker, but Josh is a huge game breaker as well. I mean, I think that the Jets are fortunate to have both of them. That's the way I'm going to put it.
Yeah. Waiter says the Dallas Stars are frauds. He's trying to shed the Jets of that label and pass it to the Dallas Stars. Well done out there, Waiters. Let's get to Tyler Toffoli because someone was really upset that we weren't talking more about the goals. You touched on it a little bit, but what did you see from him tonight as far as his emergence as a difference maker on the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyler's just looking more and more comfortable, and and he only played 12:28 today because the Jets know they're in a busy stretch of 6 games in 9 days, so they didn't want to run him out there for 18, 19 minutes. I thought there were parts of the game where I was waiting for a little bit more pop. But then, by the end of the night, he's got 5 shots on net, 9 shot attempts, 2 goals, and as he told us, he thought he should have had 4. So, this is the type of dangerous scorer that Tyler Toffoli is. And much like Rick told us the day the trade was made in Seattle, Rick was absolutely gushing, to borrow a phrase from when we used to have Paul Maurice, and other people talking about Ville Heinola. We've talked about this from the beginning, Sean. I mean, this is a player who is a game changer, and he's a game changer because of a couple things. A, because of his shot, and B, because of how he gets to the net and is tipping pucks and disrupting things and just getting to the hard areas, because he knows that's when the playoff starts. That's where he needs to be. So I love how he's starting to feel more and more comfortable. This is a guy who, Sean, when the games get bigger, you're going to notice him more and more, right? This is, to me, these 16 games are all about building Tyler Toffoli for a game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, because Tyler Toffoli has been to the top of the mountain. He knows what it takes to get there, and he knows what it takes to produce when the lights are on. And again, this is one of those moments that you're going to remember, Sean. There have been lots of moments in this building, but the way the crowd roared for Tyler Toffoli when he scored his first goal, that's something that Tyler Toffoli is going to remember, and it's something that the franchise will remember. To me, that was a big moment, and Rick mentioned it himself, Sean. Everybody in the building noticed how big a roar that was for him, and Tyler said too, let's not kid ourselves. Game 1, he had the butterflies flowing. They went to the welcome mat during one of the broadcast breaks. He noticed there was a standing ovation, and he was appreciative of it. And I also love the fact with that little smirk, he said, hopefully I can get a few more. This is the kind of guy who's not happy with, 1 goal here, 1 goal there. This guy wants to be a dominant force, and he wants his team to win and go on a bit of a roll. And he knows in order for them to do that, he's going to have to play a big part of that. Also, I'm curious for your thoughts about what Nate Schmidt said, Sean, comparing him in terms of the way he thinks the game to Paul Stastny, who we also know had a major impact on how this team made a run to the conference final in 2018.
I don't know that I compare those two players at all in their style. I mean, maybe he's
not
talked
style,
about
cerebral
impact
play, I think.
or cerebral. I will say this, take a look at something that we didn't get to talk about in the broadcast, but I mean, Tyler Toffoli is a big reason the Winnipeg Jets lost out in that bubble year, again in the second round against the Montreal Canadiens. He had 2 game-winning goals in that series. He had the series clinching goal in that series, and he did it on a line with a rookie player in Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki, who was emerging as a center, but still a really young guy. And he did that against a fairly established Jets lineup with, plenty of veteran savvy. And he took 2 young guys and they led the charge in sweeping the Winnipeg Jets out of the playoffs that year. You're not a smart guy. Hey, I talked about Mark Scheifele elevating people. How about Tyler Toffoli's ability to elevate a rookie just cutting his teeth in the NHL, never mind in the playoffs, and helping a rookie, not a rookie center, but a very young center at that time really come out. Tyler Toffoli, I see that again. I just think it's like, if you're going to compare players, there should be something about them that is kind of similar in the way they play. I don't see it at all. But if we're going to get into the conversation about, the hockey IQ and all those different kind of things, I just think there was such a great example of that tonight. So if you're going to be a goal scorer the way Tyler Toffoli is, you can't just be, for the most part, a one-trick pony unless that one trick is an insane trick. You take a look at a guy like, Brett Hull, for the most part, was just really able to get open. And then when he was open, he put it in the back of the net. To a degree, Patrick Laine, just with that laser of a shot, was slightly a one-trick pony, but I won't even say that, because how many times did he come off the off wing and fire that? Sorry, not off the off wing, on his own wing. That great goal that he scores for the hat trick, the one that really introduced him to Jets fans, where he's coming down the wing. He had that ability as well. He had the ability to kind of deke and get to the front of the net. So he's not a good example of that. But Tyler Toffoli is a guy who's got a great shot. If you take a look at that goal that he scores tonight, that's a hard shot to stop, even if the goalie sees it. It's the old 8-inch shot, they call it, Ken. Right above the pad, but right below the glove or the blocker. Really hard for a goalie to get to that spot. And he does that while shooting through an entire crowd of people. This is a guy who's got a vision ability that is next to none. But you mentioned it before. Let's get back to it again. That goal that he scores, if you go back, and I tell people, go back and watch it. It's all out there on Twitter or X right now. He is basically sees Mark Scheifele looking for something. And you've said it on this podcast before, Ken. If you're a defender and you don't have the guy's stick, you don't have the man, right? But even if you didn't have his stick, this was a goal that was likely to go in, because what Tyler Toffoli does is he sees Mark and he moves his skate into an opening. You know how guys go out and they like tap the stick and they say, I'm open? He very subtly put his skate out in a spot and the perfect angle to say to Mark Scheifele, if there's nowhere else to go, you could just fire the puck really hard off the skate here. Mark Scheifele recognizes it. This is one of those ones where, yes, it's Tyler Toffoli's goal, but really it's Mark Scheifele's goal. Mark Scheifele knows exactly what's happening here. He fires a bank shot off the perfect spot, and that is how Tyler Toffoli gets a lot of his goals. Yes, he's got that great shot, but he goes to the front of the net. He creates chaos. He had 2 games ago, there was a goal that was scored that he had been in front of the net, taken away the goalie's eyes. He didn't tip it in, but he might as well have. That was his goal, essentially, because he took away the eyes of the goaltender. But Tyler Toffoli, if you notice, has really, and he's not the biggest guy, Ken. and yet he's right in front of the net at all those crucial times, making life hard onto the goaltender. That's why he has so many opportunities, so many goals as he has. And this, for me, is clearly sending Tyler Toffoli to the front of the net. And I don't think the Jets had to. Him going there is going to be paying off for the Winnipeg Jets for a long time. And hey, if you're looking to pay off high interest credit cards or debt, we suggest you go talk to our friends at Cambrian Credit Union about their payoff loan. They can show you how taking out a loan to pay off your debt actually gets you debt free faster, and you can save thousands of dollars. Go to cambrian.mb.ca to book an appointment online. Ken, let's move it along and talk about some of the changes that were made. Go to the back end and let's talk about Nate Schmidt and Logan Stanley drawing into the lineup.
Yeah, first and foremost, like, the discourse on social media today is absolutely absurd. Like, flat out pristine roofing wake up call territory. The Jets are playing 17 games in 31 days. That means you need, if you are Rick Bowness, to play Nate Schmidt, to play Logan Stanley, to play David Gustafson. And this is easy. You are taking out, to put in guys on the third pairing, you're taking out guys on the third pairing. Rick has said this on multiple occasions, including the time that he asked Morgan Barron to sit out for the only time this year. Those guys need work. Of course, you have to. If you can't play them against some of the worst teams in the league, you can't play them at all. And Nate Schmidt had shown that he is more than capable of handling minutes against higher end teams than the Anaheim Ducks. So people freaking out, how can they bench Colin Miller after 2 games? Come on now. This is wake up territory here. Colin Miller is going to play ample time down the stretch run, but much like Nate Schmidt did not deserve to come out of the lineup, that's the way it goes. So what did I think of Schmidt's game? Pinball goal, good on him. His 2 goals have come against the Anaheim Ducks. This is the important thing to me, Sean. Nate Schmidt, after sitting out 2 games as a healthy scratch and essentially being replaced by Colin Miller in those games, didn't hang his head, didn't sit around saying, woe is me, how can I be scratched? He went out and played 20 minutes and 14 seconds. Rick Bowness and Scott Arniel could lean on him for that much ice time. Yeah, of course the opponent wasn't at the same caliber as some of the other guys, but that's not the point. The point is that Nate Schmidt gave the Jets 20 minutes and 14 seconds of solid play. He had 4 shots on net, 5 attempts, and a hit. So Nate Schmidt's leaving an impression with the coaching staff saying, hey, don't forget me over here. Don't leave me in the press box. I'm going to be a contributor down the stretch whenever you call my number. Logan Stanley, he played 15, 35, 18 shifts, 2 shots on net. I thought he kind of leaned on a couple players. That's what he's got to do. Nate Schmidt is clearly still ahead of Logan Stanley on the depth chart. That's the way it goes. I'm curious again, and this doesn't mean Dylan Sandberg deserved to be out of the lineup. People will say, oh, well, the second pairing struggled in the last game. Why didn't you take them out? That's not how it works with the pecking order here. So those guys were given a chance to bounce back. Dylan Sandberg sat out a game. I mean, is it warranted? No, but he's on the third pairing. So if you're putting in a separate third pairing, that's probably who's going to come out. And it makes sense. It's not a punishment. It is to allow the team to stay fresh during a stretch where they will play 6 times in 9 days. So this is going to happen, Sean, more than once. Maybe even it'll happen again on this road trip. I mean, you got to get those games in for players. And again, for people going wild about the changes at forward, there will be a revolving door on the fourth line for the next several weeks. And that's not, you got to get chemistry on the fourth line. No, Morgan Barron is a guy who's going to be on the fourth line when the playoffs start. Vladislav Nemestikov is probably going to be on that line. And the third spot is kind of going to be open, and there will be a revolving door for that spot. We said it, Sean. Cole Perfetti, excellent on Monday. On Wednesday, I didn't really notice him enough. That doesn't mean you bench him immediately. What it means is the Jets wanted to get David Gustafson into the lineup, so they played him against one of the worst teams in the NHL. And I like Gustafson. You saw signs of his brain out there at work. Not a ton happening offensively, But David Gustafson often makes his line mates better, whether he's producing offense or whatever else. He makes a lot of smart plays. He's very good defensively, and I thought he provided 10 good minutes today. What do you think of the way the deep pairing stood out?
Well, I just wanted to go to a point that you made, someone saying that they need to get chemistry on the fourth line. That is, that's not going to happen. Like the job of the fourth line, and I think you had a great comment there with pecking order as well. The job of the fourth line is going to be, responding to changes that tailor this team towards the teams that they are going to be playing in the playoffs. If they want to be heavier, it's going to change how they play. If they want to be faster, it's going to change how they put that line together. If they want to add a scoring threat to it, it's going to change how they put that together. That is the lot in life. You talked about the pecking order. If you're a fourth line player, that's your job, is to be able to go in and be a tool that is used for a specific purpose and pull it off and do that job right. So just to make that clear, if you are, again, I go back to what I said at the beginning of this podcast. It's hard for me to look at this and draw a lot of conclusions because the Anaheim Ducks were a team that just didn't have much to push with. They weren't very good. So the Jets went out and beat up on a team that was not very capable and was tired on this night. Let's say not very capable on this night. And by the words of the Winnipeg Jets head coach, we're tired on this night. But if you are Nate Schmidt, you come in and you do what you can do. And I thought that he did that well. I thought he attacked. I thought that he was aggressive, defending. I thought here's a guy, Ken, who very much knows what value he can bring to a hockey team and goes out to try and pull off that value. That's what he's doing time and time again. He gets into the lineup and he pulls that off. The idea of switching them up and making changes, to your point, Ken, that's what happens. Again, that's your lot in life. When you've fallen to be the fifth or sixth defenseman, you are the guys who are going to get popped out of the lineup when your coach wants to send a message. But Colin Miller had been in there for 2 games, and maybe, just maybe, in a game where the last game where Rick Bowness had thought to himself, we really didn't have anyone going. Well, maybe there's no excuse for a guy like Colin Miller to not be going on that night. Maybe game 2 with the Winnipeg Jets is too early for you not to show up and not have your A game. And the message needs to be sent that, hey, we've got someone else here to take that spot. If you're not jumping in and grabbing that spot, if you're one of the players that I think could have given more on this night, well, you're a 5th or 6th guy on this team, probably a 6th guy on this team. So there's no excuse for you not to be going. Essentially, the way this works is if you're Cole Perfetti and you're trying to get in the lineup, or you're David Gustafson, or you're Rasmus Kupari, or you are Logan Stanley, or you are Nate Schmidt, or you are Colin Miller, there's no excuse for you not to be going on a night, because if you're not going on a night, that opens the door for someone else to pop in there. So I like the idea of creating that competition. I always think that am I freezing, Ken? Was
You
I
did.
freezing
Yep,
up
you're
there?
back. Yep. Sorry.
Feels like I am.
I just gave you the rock eyebrow raise for fun, actually.
There you go. There you go. But you want to have competition on a team heading into the playoffs. You want guys feeling like their next game depends on how they perform in this game. I thought that Nate Schmidt performed in this game the manner you would expect someone to play, to go in the lineup. Ken, I don't know if you picked up on this. There was a 3-on-2, and it didn't burn him, but there was a 3-on-2 that the Ducks had, and Logan Stanley, I don't know why, entirely left the left side of the ice and went skating towards the opposite side of the ice to apply pressure, and left the winger wide open. If the center had just moved it over to the streaking right winger, he would have gone in on a breakaway. Instead, he passed it to the other side. Maybe that pressure gets there, but my guess is that will be video that is shown to Logan Stanley tomorrow by the coaches, and they will say, don't do this. This is not what we do. We don't over pursue like this. This could have been disastrous the other way. So to me, I thought Nate Schmidt is the guy who earned himself another game. I'm not sure if I feel the same way about Logan Stanley, because I can tell you who I have not seen overcorrect at almost any point this year is Dylan Sandberg. Dylan Sandberg would have played that play better defensively. And I thought Logan Stanley showed tonight, even though it didn't burn him, he showed tonight he's not as solid a defensive option as Dylan Sandberg has been.
Yeah, no doubt. And Sandberg has been excellent for the majority of the season. And
To
that's
your point, he didn't deserve to be taken out.
Which is why I said it to begin with. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, I also understand why he is doing that, because the Jets need
He's the
Dylan
number 5
Sandberg
guy.
to be available for game 1 of the playoffs. This wasn't, and again, we know this flu bug is ripping around. I mean, do we know if it's impacting some of those guys that were scratched today? Not 100%. We don't know that. So, sorry, before we dig into the other stuff, Sean, let's give a quick update on Gabriel Velarde for the folks who didn't see it today.
Go for it. Take it.
Yeah, so I mean, we're still not sure about the upper body issue that had him out in the first place, but what we know is when they were doing the investigation and in the checkup, they found an enlarged spleen, which means that that Gabriel Velarde will be out of the lineup for at least the next 5 more games. So that'll get him to 13 and counting. And I mean, this is a kind of injury that they're going to have to be really patient with. I mean, Rick Bowness didn't get into the treatment, but there's got to be whatever the treatment plan is, whether it's medication or whatever. I mean, until the flare up goes down, he's not going to be able to get on the ice and play. So the Jets could be without. I mean, it's going to be indefinite. How long that is, we don't know. So until he's back, the Jets, we've talked about all this depth, they're going to have to get by without him for as long as that is necessary. So I would say the fact that there is at least some clarity is important, but we don't have full clarity. We don't know that this is something where, game 1, he's ready. Maybe he's ready for the last 10 games. We don't know this, but it has to be an incredibly frustrating time for Gabriel Velarde, who has had an outstanding season when available. But as a guy who's gone through a lot of things in the course of his career related to injuries, this has got to be another thing that's like, how come this keeps happening to me? So that's tough thing for him to deal with. But again, he's going to do everything in his power to get ready and be on the ice when he can. It's just another bit of a, speed bump, if you will.
The one thing that I said, we had talked on Sportsnet when I was on with the panel about the importance of him being gone. I'll say this, like the Winnipeg Jets power play, yeah, it gets a goal here tonight, and Tyler's fully talked about the importance of that. I do wonder about the Jets explosion tonight in goals. We've seen this from them before. It does seem to light a fire, get some offensive, mojo going in the room, and maybe they carry that forward. They've got a great opportunity to do it against another team that is kind of team that they seem to be able to light up. They did last time they played the Columbus Blue Jackets when they beat them 5-0, I believe. But this power play was on cheat code when Gabe Velarde was at the front of the net and was saying, hey, if you're not going to take me, I'm just going to get the puck in the front of the net and I'm going to beat the goaltender. And then if you try and take me, I'm going to, pass it to Sean Monahan, who's going to be in that bumper spot and ready to bury it. And if you cover both me and he, then I'm probably going to get it back over across to Kyle Connor for the one-timer. There was that. Listen, it would take smart coaches game planning to try and shut down what Gabe Velarde was doing there. That is a massive loss because we have not seen, and we don't know, maybe Toffoli's addition could get them there, but we haven't seen that the Jets power play can possibly operate at the clip that it was operating with Gabe Velarde gone, or when he was in the lineup there. So with him gone, that's a problem in that regard. That was something that really, really worked for the Winnipeg Jets. That it's tough to see that take a loss. I don't know enough about spleens. All I know is no timeline with something like that. I think I was having a conversation with someone today when you're talking about Mark Stone, who had a lacerated spleen. My guess with a lacerated spleen, or based on the conversations that I've had, is when you've got a laceration, there's probably a timetable for that to heal, right? When you've got a cut, there's potential to know, well, this is how long it typically takes for that to heal. With the enlarged spleen the way it is, my understanding is there is no timetable until you can get it to come down. there's a danger there, right? A danger that you do not risk. So until you bring that down, and I don't think, and a large spleen is something that you just, flip the switch and it goes away. So this one to me is a bit concerning, because I really do think it is truly one of those there's no timetable for his return, and that could mean being out longer than anyone would hope that he or the hope for him returning may be questionable, I guess is the way I should say that.
And sorry, the other bit of news today, and again, I have lots of people ask me about this today, Sean, and T. Mackey asks, Wyatt Bongiovanni to Ottawa for future considerations, opening a spot for Rutger McGroarty. It's got, to me, I don't think it has anything to do with the other. I mean, the Jets signed Wyatt Bongiovanni as a college free agent, then he earned himself a 2-year NHL two-way deal. Wyatt Bongiovanni was not pressing to be in the National Hockey League. This is basically a minor league transaction. Now, getting rid of a contract, does that open up some room? Sure. But I mean, the Jets were always going to be having room for Rutger McGroarty when his season is over. And when I pass it back over to you, I'm going to see what happened in that Big Ten game tonight in Minnesota to see where things are at with that. But it's totally unrelated to the other. The Jets have, I think, somewhere around 47 contracts, and Thomas Milic, the way he's been playing at his first AHL shutout this week, he's going to need a new contract, but that will only kick in for next season. So the Jets have enough maneuverability to sign players, and they have an open spot to sign another college free agent if they want to, like they did with Parker Ford last season. So that, I don't see that as being connected. Bongiovanni was basically an AHL player, and he's been moved where he'll play for the Belleville Senators. This is not an NHL move for Ottawa either, I don't think. It just gets them a free look at a player who will, could potentially be a depth player for them.
Okay, we've taken too long to get here. Time to get to the Johnson Group. Got you covered. Play of the game. What do you got?
Yeah, I love there was a Morgan Barron back check, Sean, in the second period where, again, just all-out hustle, and he did a great job on the back pressure. And that's something we did not see almost any of, Sean, in the game against the Nashville Predators. Well, we saw it a lot, but we saw the players on the visiting side do the majority of that back pressure. So to me, just in terms of the theme that we were looking for from the Jets in this bounce back, I love the back pressure there from Morgan Barron. That's why I'm choosing that play in particular as the Johnson Group play of the game.
Not going to argue. I'll go with it. The Kenny and Renny Johnson Group OGs got you covered. Play of the game. Do you run a small business in Canada? Look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more, Ken, which brings us to the keg save of the game. What do you got?
Yeah, buddy, it's got to be just because of the time of the game. I loved his athletic ability and diving post to post for the save in the second, but shut it on the line. A guy hasn't given up a goal in 140 some minutes now, 41 and change. The save on Frank Vetrano, it has to be it. I mean, this guy cuts to the middle and has a great scoring chance, and it's turned aside. And just another example of Laurent Brossoit being calm in his net, being big, and he making another just steady save. And that's my choice. There were a couple options, and I mean, John Gibson, you got to feel for the guy, Sean. Like, gave up 6, and it should have been 10-0 based on how the team played in front of him. I mean, that was a shooting gallery for him at times.
I don't know. That's a guy who probably could have been out of Anaheim a long time ago. I think that there's been years past where there's been attempts to move. Like, if you want to fight to stay in that situation, then I guess you live in that situation. I don't have a lot of sympathy for him being in the situation that he's in. Brossoit, geez. I thought that was a great example of it. I thought there was another one on Vetrano. Remember after Vetrano rang one off the bar, yeah, and then thought that LB going forward would be vulnerable on the short side,
right?
And then he fires one that LB gloves, which was labeled for the bottom corner. To me, that's LB learning as the game goes on, and then becoming, outsmarting his opponent. The stretch to seal off the post on the bounce that came off the back of the net, I thought thought was great, and then saves 21 and 22 at the end of the game are that's a super high danger chance that he saves not only the initial but stops the one after that. This was one of those nights where there was a ton of picks. Again, I know the Jets didn't allow a whole lot of shots. I believe the clock was at 22 and it ended. I don't know if they've corrected that. I haven't looked to see if they've corrected it. But there were
22.
a ton, 22. There were a ton of
38,
higher danger
22.
chances. At last count before those two, I believe there were 7 high danger chances. This was one of those
That's what it
nights
finished
where
at, 18-7. Sorry.
18-7 and high danger
At even
chances.
at even strength. At even strength.
At even strength. Okay. So
all strengths 20-8.
There you go, 20-8. To me, I'm looking at this and it's basically looking to me like 1 out of every 3 chances was a high danger chance. That checked out to me. I thought the Jets were a little bit loose defensively on this night. And it's, to me, again, I stated again, I think it was an earned shutout by Laurent Brossoit on this night. That's my take. It doesn't matter what my take is on the I guess I didn't really give one. I gave like 4, but you just need to give us one. Hashtag the keg save of the game, and you're automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 Fine Keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Wait a minute, I'm off. All it means is you do that with us, you get that, and that means it's time for me to share with you the keg $50 gift certificate winner from last time, and that would be at D Kingsey, who left it not in the chat room but in the comments on the YouTube page afterwards. You know what to do. You're probably an after the fact listener, so when you listen to this, direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds, send me your full name, send me your email, and I will have the keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 Fine Keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg, each location finer than the last. Ken, moving on.
And I was over there, one quick one before we go to Lamplighter. I was at the keg on Gary Street yesterday, and we ran into Greg Johnson, who was one of the winners. He was enjoying his gift card last night. I had a fantastic meal there, and he was down there. So, great to meet you, Greg. I'm glad people are enjoying the great gifts that our friends at the keg have been providing for each and every game this year.
Now, I just want to say, if Ken was at the keg because he's been tracking down some of you winners and muscling you out of your $50 gift certificates, just get a hold of Renny. Get a hold of Renny. He'll take care of business. I don't know. Maybe he's getting into my vaults and he's finding out where you people live. If that's happening, I will protect you from the guy who often dresses like Kingpin out of the Marvel comics.
Yeah, there goes your invite to the next one, buddy. There you go.
Well, I never got it to this one. So maybe that's why I'm so mad right now. Anyway,
you're leaving town. You need to be at home with your family and kids. How about that? Your wife and kids. How about that?
Let's do that. Okay. Lamplighter of the game. What do you got?
Oh, hey, lots of honorable mentions, but I love the clapper more than most people, so I got to go Clap City. Dylan DeMello snapping the 63-game goalless drought for number 2 on the Winnipeg Jets, blasting away. This is how we do it. Not just because of the slapper that absolutely overpowered John Gibson, but because of the zone entry from Nikolai Ehlers. Did just a great job to create all kinds of open space where Dylan DeMello could just absolutely walk in and unleash the big slapper. So I'm going with the slap shot there, even though in terms of the game eruption from the fans, I love the Toffoli first goal. In terms of getting to the hard areas, I loved the posting up in the crease and Mark Scheifele finding him. But and again, great hands by Kyle Connor on the redirection. Who am I leaving out? Nate Schmidt with the pinball special. And I will also salute Mason Appleton for, Sean, 2 games in a row, Mason Appleton has scored on the power play. So I know you're talking about Gabriel Velarde. How about that pass by Adam Lowry? That was Gabe Velarde-esque to set up the power play marker with 5.5 seconds left on the backhand pass. But although there were 6 to choose from, I'm going Clap City from Dylan DeMello.
Very good. I am going to go with, but before I do, Frosty Winnipeg with one of the all-time Lou comments here. He says, Lou Ferlin is currently in a bathtub full of ice with a spleen in a cooler with a Post-it note to give Velarde. That is an all-timer right there. I'm going to go with Tyler Toffoli's second goal, the skate redirection, because this does a couple things for me. A, it shows off the high IQ that he has and that touch he has around the net. B, just being to the front of the net, people know know how I feel about those kind of goals. Those are repeatable goals. Those are goals you will see in right at this time in a game like that, but you'll also see them in game 1 of the playoffs. You'll see them in game 24 of the playoffs. Those are repeatable goals. But the other part about that for me that I like is Tyler Toffoli. It's his second goal on the night. It's not just that one. We saw Kyle Connor when he came back from that injury and he got that first empty net goal there. And I thought I gave Rick Bowness praise for making the right move to get their scorer back on the board. But one wasn't enough in that case, and he kind of went to sleep after a while. This is one of those scenarios where Tyler Toffoli comes out. Now it's not just breaking the ice and getting that first one. He's got two. He's got a little bit of momentum. I love the way after that goal, it caused the team to try and feed him to get him the third goal. But to me, Ken, the thing that is most important about that goal is the subtle nod that he gave to Mark Scheifele, and Mark Scheifele picking up on it. This is two guys who've never played hockey with each other before, getting nonverbal communication and is understanding exactly what the other guy is doing. This is what you call chemistry on a high level. And to see that exist definitely creates a scenario by where maybe Tyler, hey, we talked about the built-in chemistry that would exist on junior line mates between Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli. This makes me salivate at what Mark Scheifele and Tyler Toffoli would look like together. That's an option that could be gone to at any point. So many reasons to like that goal, even though it just looks like one of these ones where it was a redirect and a hockey gods bounce goal. No, Nate Schmidt's goal was the hockey gods bounce goal. This is a very purposeful execution by two players that I think was just absolutely gorgeous, which is why for me, it's the lamplighter of the night. But it doesn't matter what I think, matters what you think. Share with us your hashtag lamplighter of the game. You are automatically entered to win a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at Trans-Canada Brewing Company. If you cannot wait for Kenny and Renny to gift you your own 8-pack, you got to head down to Trans-Canada Brewing Company. Join them in their tap room, their gorgeous tap room, great atmosphere at 11290 Kenniston, where you can get great food, great pizza, tons of great beers. Just sitting there. We're going to be doing another Sportsnet / TSN meetup there coming up. Hashed it out with Johnny Lou. We're looking forward to getting there for that. But it's also where we will have our final KNR live podcast of the 2023-24 season. Hey, if you don't have tickets, I can tell you this right now, folks. There's one left. There is one ticket left to get into that room. Now, if you want to take a partner, let me know. Buy up that ticket. And if you're saying I wanted to take two people, buy up that ticket, and I'm sure I can find a way for you to get that other ticket. But if anyone out there is waiting to get into that room, stop what you're doing right now and go to Eventbrite and get that ticket, because there is one ticket left to get into that room. You can try and figure out if there's a duo of you trying to go. We'll try and figure it out at a later date. Not going to do it if you are not going to buy up that ticket right now, though. So get to it. And that brings us, of course, to the winner of the Lamplighter, and the Lamplighter winner from the last show. That would be Hugh Wichenko, who messages me every single game with both his Lamplighter and both his keg winner. Hugh Wichenko, you know what to do. Tomorrow, when I know you are going to send me your picks for the keg save of the game and your Lamplighter of the game, make sure you include with it your full name, which I know is Hugh Wichenko, and of course your email, and I will have sent to you a voucher for a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at Trans-Canada Brewing Company. Congratulations, Hugh. You deserve it, buddy. You are all over that. Ken, you got anything to say before we go?
Yes. It looks like the Michigan Wolverines have pulled off the upset, knocking out the Minnesota Golden Gophers out of the Big Ten tournament. So that means it's 4-3 right now, unless it's a final. I'll have to double check here. But that's the latest score that's been posted here. That game's got to be over. It's midnight here.
Man.
So that's a big win for Michigan, because, we were wondering if they'd got knocked out of the first round, that they might be out of the entire event and may not get to the Frozen Four, Sweet 16 or whatever it is. Now they're a virtual lock to be in the tournament, as long as that is a final. So,
well, there you go. Kyle Connor
Rutger
extremely
McGroarty, there
happy
you go.
somewhere, and Blake Wheeler, absolutely his Golden Gophers.
Oh, yeah.
Tough one, especially when you're the expected victor in that game. Anyways, that's it for us. Great job tonight, chat room.
Sorry, last thing,
What?
folks.
What do you want?
Big news. You're traveling on Sunday, but we got big news for our friends, Sean. We got big news because we got a great guest coming on for the show on Sunday night. Jason Bukala will be joining us while you will be in Florida. He will be joining us to supply some excellent analysis on a number of things, including Rutger McGroarty.
Jason Bukala is one of those shows, as is Kevin Woodley, who we bumped into
Mhm.
when we were in Vancouver, that I can tell you every single time they are on, it is just mind blowing. They are like, those two are two of my favorite guests, because every time they are on, it is just like, wow, wow, wow. The information that they have, the insight that they have is like, the fact that they give that away for free is absolutely amazing. So if you weren't planning on showing up on Sunday, now is the time to do it, because it is going to be a great show. My availability is sketchy at the moment, based on the work that I have to do and the traveling that I have to do on that day. But Bukala is well worth the price paid. Anyways, 4-3 is a final. Alex 99 says about that game. Okay. So it is pulled off. So there you go. Thanks, Alex 99. Renny would like to thank all 10,000 of you for showing up here tonight, says NBAHA Ball Hockey. Once again, I can tell you right now, we gained very, very close to 1,000. I'm looking at 941 right now. I guess, Ken, the thing about this is YouTube is probably showing the people watching on YouTube. A lot of these other viewers would be watching from Twitter, from
there you go.
From our two various Twitter accounts.
And hey,
I figured that was the explanation.
And if people want the receipts, they can go to our homepage where it shows how many viewers watch the show by the time that the show has been over. So
yeah, but even then is probably not giving a good indication, because that would be a depressed number. Because again, I'm going to do it right now just to show everybody this is what I'm looking at. This is what we are viewing right now in our show. 941. It's 943 right now. It's bumped up. So people
here's what Nick Linham says, over 400 on Twitter tonight. And the other thing too, folks, we're getting close to a great milestone. We've been averaging over 1,000 downloads a game as well. So those numbers have been it's way up. No, sorry. We've never been under that.
Sorry, that's not even close. Kenny, not a math major, but a great guy at breaking down hockey, as you saw here on this show tonight. Thanks for joining us, people. Great job as usual. Ken and I will say what I always end this show with. If you appreciate the conversations happening in this space, please appreciate the contributions by our sponsors who fight to keep the conversation going in this space for us. That's Vittorio Rossi, Pristine Roofing and their wake-up call, Sweet Lou Ferlin, Cambrian Credit Union, the Kenny and Renny OGs in the Johnston Group, the Keg, and of course, Trans-Canada Brewing Company. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you. We appreciate you giving us your time. We hope you do it all over again on Sunday when the Winnipeg Jets play the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.